Welcome to Woodshop 101. This is episode number 90 for July 17th, 2017. On today's show, we are going to talk about project preparation. I'm Sam of DIY Huntress, and I'm joined today by Drew of Rock-n H Woodshop, Sam of Sam Raimondi Designs, and Jeremy of Countryside Workshop. What is up, guys?
What's going on?
Hi, I'm back. Did you miss me?
Good to have you back. Yes, we did.
I know I missed you guys.
Sam's on there and two girls.
I know. We're going to take over the world.
Hey, there was two guys on here.
I mean, like, whatever.
Yeah.
When Jeremy and I are on here by ourselves, it's just not as fun. So we needed at least 1 to 2 girls.
You mean you needed at least 2 Sams?
Two Sams?
We definitely need 2 Sams.
I don't know if we could handle 2 Sams on a permanent basis. Like.
Oh, challenge accepted, maybe.
Reverse psychology, I like it.
I do have a little daughter. I know how to use it.
She's going to run the world soon.
Yes, she is.
Soon.
So cute.
Already.
Sorry. But all right, well, I guess let's start by talking about our supporters, right? We have some awesome supporters for this episode. Thanks a bunch to Michael Brindle, Devin, Richter, and Sean McHenry for your support. If you'd like to be a supporter and hear your name on this podcast, you can head over to woodshop101podcast.com/listen. Find the show notes for today's episode, and there you can also find links for small one-time donations and also reoccurring donations. You can also become a patron of our Patreon campaign, and then head over to patreon.com/woodshop101, or you can also buy a Woodshop 101 podcast t-shirt. You can head over to countrysideworkshop.com/shop for that link as well. All right, so this is, I know, our shorter show for our second week. So why don't we get started? And we're going to be talking about preparing for projects. So do you guys generally prepare for your projects? And if you do, how so?
Well, I generally prepare for one by making the plan first. The way I used to build is I would build on the fly, and I would even go to the hardware store or the lumber store and pick up lumber on the fly. I would just sit here thinking, okay, that I could make a cut right there and make a cut right there, and that might hold 4 pieces, and I would end up buying 2 or 3 sheets of plywood more than I needed. With in a woodworking perspective, that's not a bad thing, but I would end up spending way too much money, and I could not prepare a decent cut list and like an itemized bill for the customer if I was doing something custom for them. So I ended up changing how I do things to make a plan first, have a cut list where I kind of put all of the same kind of measurements together so I can just run the pieces through and then cut them up to length as I go, oversized if I need to. And it really, really speeds up how I do things in the shop. I can build a project now in just a matter of hours versus days the way I used to do it. And I wouldn't have to make any changes on the fly unless I just want to take some creative preference and do it myself. But I will say that having a plan before you go in is a big, big help when it comes to preparing for your next project. Not only does it help you buy your lumber in an efficient way, but it helps you build the project itself in an efficient way. So that's just something I changed over the course of, I guess it was like 5 years of woodworking. So,
well, I used to do what you did. I would kind of go in and wing it, or at least have like a general idea of how big I wanted things to be, and then take a piece of loose leaf paper and write down what I thought I needed, and then would usually end up missing something. Now that I'm a little more versed in SketchUp, I will sketch up what I want to do with the dimensions. Like 90% of the time, though, what ends up happening is once I get into the shop and try to make that SketchUp plan come to life, I find that the dimensions might not add up all the way, or things might need to be changed to fit my space, and then I will just kind of go back and tweak that later. One of the things I do is I like to always, this is just me being a little overcautious, but I do like to pick up some extra pieces of lumber when I am working, because from a blogger standpoint, some of the projects, or really most of the bigger projects I'm making, I've designed on my own. So I don't really know how things are going to work out until I try them. And one of the things that stinks the most on my end is like trying something new and then being like, I got to go back to Home Depot and they close in 5 minutes. So sometimes I will just pick up an extra piece or two just to be safe, because I'm usually the first person building that and doing the trial and error for everybody else. But it's always just good to be on the safe side, and it's just a couple extra bucks and just keep it for later if I don't use it.
Yeah, when I did that 2x4 table, that's kind of what I did. Each, like if I had a list of 2x4s that I needed, if I needed 4 of them, I bought 5. The 2x6s, if I bought 3, or if I needed 3, I bought 4. Just because there's always going to be a time when you're going to screw up. Even with a plan, you're going to screw up. So, yeah, it always helps to have extra. Good tip.
Yes, that's how I used to do it. I would wing it and want to go really fast and just get the materials and get it done really quickly. But now I also do it on SketchUp. With going to school for interior design, they teach you SketchUp. So I was drawing rooms and stuff, but it's fun drawing furniture and bringing what you are thinking in your head onto the computer in SketchUp. But like every time I print it out, something goes wrong and I have to change something, or I don't like the curve that I made and I change it and tweak it a little bit. But I will say SketchUp is also awesome. I just did the big round curved legs that are about 10 inches by 10 inches. And I printed out my template, glued it to a piece of MDF, and I was able to cut. I mean, it was amazing. SketchUp, like you can use it not for just your plans, but also if you have a curve in the table or, you know, a template, you can make it and use that also. And it's amazing. And I definitely buy like an extra piece of each piece of lumber. If I'm using like 1x4s, I buy one 1x4. And if I'm using 1x6, I buy 1x6 too. So kind of on the same page as you all.
The thing too, real quick with SketchUp is because every time I show screenshots of myself using it, I definitely get questions from people being like, what is that magical program you're using? SketchUp is free, which is really cool. For those of you who follow me, you know, like I do a lot of budget-friendly projects. So if I can use budget-friendly software to design that, then that's like A+ in my book. So check it out. There are really great tutorials on YouTube as well. What I'll do is I'll link some of them in the show notes. John Malecki, he's an awesome guy. He actually sat with me on Google Hangouts for a couple hours one day and really walked me through it, which was cool. But there are a lot of awesome YouTube videos, and there's a pretty quick learning curve. So definitely check it out if you're not sure what we're talking about.
Yeah, April Wilkerson gave me my crash course when we were waiting on a plane to go to California. We just had our laptops out there, and she's just showing me how to make a bench. I mean, that's one of the if you're wanting to learn how to use SketchUp, learn how to make a 5-board bench on SketchUp. That's one of the easiest ways to get to learn how to use it. But yeah, she gave me my little crash tutorial.
I love April.
And she's awesome. I watch her videos. But SketchUp is also great because you can do different components. So if you're using like the same tabletop for like 3 or 4 different, when you start to use it, you understand what I'm saying with the components. But if you're using the same tabletop, then you don't have to always to like re-sketch out the same tabletop every single time. You just copy that component and drag it into your new one. It's pretty great. I love it, and I can't wait to use it on my new computer.
Jeremy, do you notice that Sam says component as component, like the other Sam says poplar?
So component and poplar.
Tomato, relax.
It's just funny. Just razzing you, Sam. And Sam.
Yeah. I kind of do the same thing. I do like a rough like layout into SketchUp. Like I don't go as much as full plans. I'll design it in SketchUp. I'll go out, I'll build it, and then try to go back in and adjust the SketchUp model and plans based off of how I already built it. I just find it like usually like I'll create something and like you said, Sam, that like you'll create it, but it's not usually the way you want it. Like once you get out to actually building it, so I don't want to share those like SketchUp plans with people and they not be updated. So I try to make an effort to go back in there and change them and update them before I will start handing them out to people or post them for sale. The one thing that I wish I would do more, and I really gotta kind of figure out the fastest way to do it, is to create a cut list off of my project plan. Just because I go in there and I like adding up. I'm like, okay, there's these 3 pieces. They all add up to X amount, so that fits on roughly 1 board. Well, anything else? Do I have a length of anything else? So I always try to do like in my head in rough math. And I think like if I were to lay it out and do a nice layout of a cut list, like these 4 pieces will fit on this board, and these 3 pieces will fit on this board. I'll know like going into like, okay, I need to go to the store and I need to buy a minimum of this amount of lumber in these dimensions. So I think in the long run that might help me be a little bit more organized when it comes to working on a project.
Well, if I could jump in real quick, when John taught me how to use SketchUp, we could do a whole podcast on SketchUp, but when John taught me how to use SketchUp, if you are actually making individual pieces, different components, you can drag and drop those into bigger boards and create a cut list like that by kind of breaking apart what you already built. So you can explode it and make tabs and kind of jump back and forth. And so that's one way, is dragging and dropping the pieces that you made into the actual dimensional lumber that you would create on SketchUp. The other way is, what I tend to like to do is I'm a big picture person. I look at the entire thing that I've built, and I will actually use my pencil and tape measure and just like draw lines on what would look like my dimensional lumber that way. So as I'm looking at the actual piece I built, I can say, okay, I use 5 boards for the top, like 5 1x6s for the top at 20 inches each. And like, here's my 1x6x8, and then measure it out that way. Like how many of these fit on a piece of wood. So I think that there are definitely ways to do it where you can bring, like print that out and bring it, but like still be able to kind of pull what you're doing from SketchUp into an actual cut list, which is helpful.
What I do is I make a mock of plywood, just a standard sheet of plywood mock. And what I'll do, once I have my whole unit built in SketchUp, I will highlight the entire thing and then carbon copy it and drag it over to somewhere way off in the SketchUp land. And then I will start picking those pieces apart and laying them on those plywood mock-ups that I have until I have the entire thing completely disassembled and on plywood. So I know exactly how many pieces I need to go buy. And then lay them out in such a way that they're easy to cut out of those sheets as well. Not just putting them where they fit, putting them where they're also going to be efficiently fit whenever you cut them out.
It's funny when you say SketchUp land, because totally to jump from the topic we're talking about, but I was looking at the side of my table because I went in and changed the way I cut. I had straight curves, but I wanted to like round the curve. And I went in and like turned it to the side view, and I saw all of my everything behind it, all of the components. I was like, what the hell is that? What is that? That's not on my drawing. But I didn't realize, like, when you turn to the side, you see everything that's down that line. Because if you use the tabs, you jump from tab to tab, and then you'll see all of them. It's pretty funny. Say that real quick.
Here's a quick question for you guys. When you create the tabs, do you like the animation between the tabs, or do you hate the animation? Like, so when you click on one tab and then you click on another and it takes you to that part, the animation of it scrolling across SketchUp land to the other part, or do you want a sudden jump, like that piece is there?
I don't mind. It doesn't really.
When you say the animation, are you talking about scenes?
Yeah. You set up the tabs. Yeah, the different scenes. And when you click between scenes, how the animation is, it's like it scrolls through SketchUp land to get to that scene.
Yeah.
Do you like that? Do you like the animation, or do you hate that animation?
I use it in my videos. So if there's something that I'm wanting to animate in my video, then I will record a screen view of those animations. I'll go ahead and preset all the animations up and do a screen recording of those as I go through them, and then I'll import those into my video. There won't be measurements, of course, but they're very handy to use in my videos because I've used them on a couple.
That's smart. I didn't think of that.
So I'm like completely different. I hate them. I can't stand them. It used to not bug me until like a year ago, and now it just like I feel like I'm wasting time every time. Like I need to change scenes while I'm creating my SketchUp plan and stuff. I feel like I'm wasting time, like waiting 1 to 2, 3 seconds for it to scroll to the next scene. Mm-hmm. So like I go in there and turn it off. Like that's the first thing I do when I open up a new SketchUp model to start creating it, is I turn off animation.
If you're building the plan and that's all you're doing, then yeah, the animation's needless. But if you're wanting to import them in a video, it's nice to have.
Another thing that I do off topic, because it's sitting here, when I have to do plywood stuff, I kind of like sketch it out beforehand.
Yes.
And I like think about the different ways this is way not accurate because I should only have like 8 inches here. But basically I like see how many I can get on a piece of plywood. This is a piece of plywood, and I do it with boards all the time too. And I write down the dimensions I need and whatnot. And that's also really helpful for when then I sit down and start like doing my SketchUp, because when a client hires me, I give them a rough drawing. With going to school for interior design, I can somewhat sketch. It's not like super pretty, but I can sketch it up. And then once they decide to build with me, that's when I give them like a really good SketchUp plan so that they can see the exact dimensions and how it's going to look.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is for people who are listening who don't use SketchUp or may not be interested, you do not have to use SketchUp. Before I knew what SketchUp was, like if you can draw stick figures, you can figure out your dimensions. Like I would just draw a really rough, not to scale drawing, but would put the dimensions that I desired for my projects on the piece of loose leaf and then kind of just do the math manually that way. Don't get me wrong, SketchUp is definitely life-saving. It just, for what I'm doing and publishing plans, it makes sense for me to use it. But before I even knew what it was, I was just doodling and doing dimensions. But anything that you can just bring and that you have a general idea of what you want, you bring that to the lumber store or to your big box store. It's just going to help you plan so much better later and save you so much time in the long run.
I will say that it has landed me several jobs, like custom jobs, doing SketchUp. Because I was able to present a 3-dimensional model over the computer to a customer who lived in a different city, and I was able to go through the aspects of the design and why we designed it this way. I was recording audio with it, and then when I sent it to him, he said, "Dude, I had no idea what it is that you guys were kind of dreaming up because I couldn't picture it in my head, and then the moment you sent this to me." I even pitched this video to a company that I deal with, and I'm talking in his perspective, and he said that they are wanting to change up their entire method of how they present projects to people now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because of the video that I sent. And it wasn't even anything high end. It was just me sitting there going, okay, and then we're going to do this here, and you see this right there, we're going to do that, and it was nothing special. But it just blew him away, and that's what landed us the deal to make that metal wood desk that we just finished. So it was crazy useful, and you don't have to make plans like Sam said. She uses it to make plans, and I do the same thing. But you don't have to use it for that specific need. You can do it to help make your building efficient, but also to present it to customers to hopefully land you that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else outside of SketchUp that you guys can really quick think of? Because I know people who are there are some people who are listening who probably are not quite there yet. So if you could give them something that would be helpful for them now, like while they're learning, what would it be?
Probably graph paper would be a good place to start, because you can use those incremental boxes as measurement tools, because each box would equal 1 inch, so you can actually make plywood to a scale. Yeah, it would look like SketchUp, but just on paper.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, graph paper is a good place to start.
Yeah, and definitely have a nice metal ruler. Don't get
Don't freehand it.
Yeah, get a nice metal ruler. My grandpa's idea, but for the the bottom of our metal ruler, we took sandpaper and glued it on so that it doesn't move. It stays still. It doesn't slide on the paper. Stays still. Doesn't slide on the wood. It stays still, so it grips it. Mm-hmm. So do that.
Like that.
I'm going to go the complete opposite and say screw it, throw it all out the window. Don't get hung up on the must need to prepare for the project. If you spend forever in the planning phase and the preparation phase, you'll never move on to the building phase. So if you find yourself lost of they're talking all about the SketchUp, they're talking about this graph paper, and I don't really know how to do this, or this is going to take so much time, then get out there and just put pen to pencil, put saw blades to wood, and start cutting and figure it out. That's where a lot of traditional woodworkers created their stuff, was prototype. Get some MDF, build it, and say, you know what, I like that. It turned out good. Then go back and get your expensive wood. Get your high-end plywood or whatever you're going to build. Don't get stuck in that preparation phase of, I have to put it in SketchUp, or I have to draw it out. I have to know the dimensions that I'm going for. It can be a wondrous tool just to get out there and build and see where it takes you and be like, oh, nope, this is too long. I don't like this. Let me cut it another inch shorter until you get it to where you want it.
Yeah. It's funny you say that too, because you just brought up the best rule is that there's personalities in people, and there's personalities in how people woodwork. And Norm Abram was an epitome person of building a prototype, and he did that in every show. He always built one, and then the show aired with him going off that prototype and making cuts, a cut list from that prototype.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite artists is Bob Ross, and he would just go on TV and create a masterpiece, no planning, because we don't make what does he say? We don't make accents. We make happy. What's he say?
Happy accidents.
We don't make mistakes. We make happy accidents. Yeah. So whatever works for you, do it. But I'm glad that at least everybody can see we're kind of on the same page here with. We found SketchUp to be a useful tool. Useful, not useless. Useful tool, and we all use it. So I guess we could all collectively say we recommend that as a preparation tool. Is that correct?
I will add one more thing to this the whole SketchUp thing. If there are people that are more advanced thinkers, Fusion 360 is another way to go. It's a lot more robust than SketchUp is, and there are some free features that come. Well, I say there are included features that come with the software that SketchUp you have to pay extra for. So if you're a more advanced thinker and like more robust software, then Fusion 360 is another place you can head out to.
I like it. Perfect. All right. Well, I hope that this was helpful for whoever's listening. If any of you who are listening have questions about SketchUp, or if any of you want to reach out and tell us the ways that you prep or don't prep for your projects, that would be pretty cool, I guess. But yeah, I guess we'll wrap up so that you guys know where to reach us. But I'm Sam from DIY Huntress. You can find my website at DIYHuntress.com, along with all my social links. There is a contact button where you can click on it and shoot me an email. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this podcast, and let's make our rounds. So where can everyone find you guys?
You can find me at samraidesigns.com, and in there's links to my social media, and there's a contact button if you want to email me and ask me some questions.
You can find me at countrysideworkshop.com, or I'm most active right now on Instagram, so you can find me at Countryside Workshop, all one word, and that's usually where you'll see me every day, most active. So, what about you, Drew?
And you can find me at rhwoodshop.com. I also have a contact section. You can fill out that, give us some feedback that I can bring to the show as well. And you can also reach the entire podcast community for Woodshop 101 through our email, which is kickback@woodshop101podcast.com. And we also have a voicemail that you can call, which is 409-234-3959. Be sure and leave us some questions, feedback, comments, concerns, suggestions, whatever you want, and we will feature those on the show. And we will give you the prerogative back on the show. And I'm sorry about the train. It always happens whenever I don't want it to. But we had a great show, and I appreciate Sam for hosting it for us. And it was great to have you back for these past 2 podcasts. We hope that you can join us for a lot more.
For sure. This was awesome, you guys. Thanks for having me again.
Well, you're part of the family. You're always welcome. So if you're, piddling around on one day and you say, hey, can we record?
But do you say that as like I'm the family member that you kind of don't want to invite to Thanksgiving dinner, but like you have no choice?
That we just tolerate you?
Exactly.
We feel obligated to invite you? No, you are always welcome, and I'm sure the listening community for Woodshop 101 wholeheartedly agree, because I know that they have missed you. They keep wanting to know when you're coming back, and the fact that we're giving them this little taste for the past 2 weeks, I think they're going to want more. So
I like it.
You seriously are going to have to consider or reconsider coming back.
Okay, I like it.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. If you have any comments, feedback that you want to leave, be sure and drop those in the comment section down below on YouTube, or send us the emails through the kickback email I mentioned before. So from Sam, Jeremy, and myself, we want to wish you guys well. Please be safe in your shops. We will talk to you on the next podcast episode. So 1, 2, 3.
Boom!